The rain came down in silver threads that morning, steady and cold, wrapping the little town of Willow Creek in a sleepy haze. It was the kind of rain that made everyone move slower, quieter, as if the whole world had agreed to pause for a while. Inside the Maple Diner, the windows were fogged up, and the soft hum of an old jukebox played a tune that had probably been on repeat for years. The scent of coffee, bacon, and rain-soaked pavement filled the air. Behind the counter, Emma Brooks wiped the same spot with her rag for the 5th time, humming along softly to the music. 25 years old, and already tired in ways youth wasn't supposed to be, she'd learned how to smile through exhaustion, how to carry kindness even when life felt unfair. Her dark blonde hair was tied back in a messy bun, and a few loose strands framed her gentle, freckled face. Her uniform, once bright turquoise, had faded to a dull blue. Her name tag, Emma, had a small crack across the corner. It was another slow morning. The regulars had already come and gone, truckers heading back to the highway, an elderly couple who shared pancakes every Thursday, and a young man who always left exactly a $20 bill for a $7 meal. Now the diner sat mostly empty, except for the soft hiss of the coffee pot and the rhythmic tapping of rain against the window. Emma leaned on the counter and stared out at the road. Across the street, the gray clouds hung low over the gas station sign, blurring the numbers like a watercolor painting. She thought about her overdue bills, about the rent reminder pinned to her fridge with a magnet shaped like a cat, about the letter from the nursing school she'd once dreamed of attending.
She'd been accepted 2 years ago but couldn't afford to go.
Every time she thought about it, her chest ached with quiet disappointment. The bell over the door jingled, and Emma turned automatically, pulling her best smile into place. A man stepped in, old, fragile-looking, his thin frame wrapped in a long brown coat that had seen better days. His hat dripped rainwater onto the floor as he hesitated by the door, glancing around the nearly empty diner. His gray hair peeked from beneath the hat, his face lined deeply with age, and his eyes, pale blue, watery, looked tired but curious. "Morning," Emma said warmly, grabbing a menu from under the counter. "Cold one out there, huh?" He gave a small nod, his voice soft and uncertain. "Just a small coffee, please." "That's all." "Sure thing," she replied, motioning to the corner booth near the window. "You can sit anywhere you like." He moved slowly, as if every step cost him effort, and settled into the booth. His coat sagged heavily on his thin shoulders. Emma poured a fresh cup of coffee and brought it over, setting it down gently in front of him. The steam curled upward between them. "Cream or sugar?" "Just black," he murmured, his hands trembling slightly as he lifted the cup. She nodded, watching him for a moment before heading back to the counter. Something about him tugged at her heart. Maybe it was the way he stared out the window like he was watching something far away that no one else could see. Or maybe it was the way he sipped slowly, carefully, as if each drop meant more than just warmth on a rainy morning. After a few minutes, Emma noticed him open a small leather wallet. It looked old, the corners frayed, the stitching loose. He pulled out a few coins, counted them twice, then frowned. She saw the way his shoulders sank a little, the way his lips pressed together in quiet frustration. He looked around, embarrassed, as if hoping no one had noticed. Emma turned her back, pretending to wipe the counter again, giving him privacy. But she couldn't ignore it. The tiny, helpless sound of the coins clinking back into the wallet, the soft sigh he let out. When she walked over with the check, she didn't hand it to him. Instead, she smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. Coffee's on me today." He blinked up at her, confused. "I can't let you do that, miss." "You can and you will," she said gently. "Consider it a rainy day special." He looked at her for a long moment, his eyes searching her face as if trying to understand why someone would be kind to him. "You don't even know me," he said finally, his voice fragile, like paper. Emma chuckled softly, folding her arms. "You look like you could use a warm drink more than I need the $3. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "You remind me of someone," he murmured. "Someone I knew a long time ago." "Hopefully someone nice," Emma teased, and he nodded, still staring at her like she was part of some old memory brought to life. As he drank, Emma went back to her routine, refilling salt shakers, checking the coffee pot, rearranging pies in the display case, but she kept glancing over at him. He sat quietly, hands around the mug, lost in thought. The rain kept falling outside, blurring the world beyond the window. Occasionally, a car whooshed by, sending up sprays of water. The neon diner sign flickered faintly, buzzing in the gray light. After a while, the old man stood, pulling his coat tighter. He reached into his pocket and placed a single folded napkin on the table beside the empty cup. "Thank you, miss," he said softly. Emma smiled again. "Anytime. Stay dry out there." He nodded and walked slowly toward the door, his shoes squeaking against the tile. The bell jingled again as he stepped out into the rain. Emma didn't notice at first, but when she went to clear the table, she found something written on the napkin in shaky handwriting. "Kindness is a rare currency these days. Thank you for spending some on me." She stared at the words for a moment, warmth spreading in her chest. She smiled and tucked the napkin into her apron pocket. Outside, through the foggy window, she thought she saw the old man pause by the curb. A black limousine had pulled up silently beside him. A driver in a dark suit hurried out with an umbrella, helping him inside. But by the time Emma blinked and looked again, the car was already pulling away, taillights glowing red in the rain. She frowned, confused. "That can't be right," she whispered to herself. Maybe she was imagining things. Maybe the rain played tricks on her eyes. The rest of the day passed in quiet routine. The lunch rush came and went. The sun struggled through the clouds for a brief hour, and then evening fell again. Emma's co-worker, Martha, a plump, cheerful woman in her 40s, joined her for the late shift. "You look thoughtful," Martha said, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "Everything okay?" Emma told her about the old man, about the napkin note. Martha smiled knowingly. "You've always had a soft spot for folks who look like they need it. Remember that vet you gave a free slice of pie to last Christmas?" Emma laughed. "Yeah, and he tried to pay me back by shoveling snow outside for an hour." "That's because kindness comes back around, sweetheart," Martha said. "Always does. Maybe not right away, but it does." Emma wanted to believe that. She wanted to believe that being kind meant something, that it changed the world, even in small ways. After closing, she walked home under her umbrella, shoes splashing through puddles. Her apartment was tiny, just one bedroom, a flickering heater, and walls thin enough to hear the neighbors argue about who forgot to buy milk. But it was hers. She hung up her coat, made tea, and pulled the napkin from her apron pocket. She read the note again, tracing the words with her finger. Something about it lingered. Something in the way he'd written it, deliberate and old-fashioned, like someone used to writing real letters instead of texts. She placed the napkin carefully in her journal, between pages filled with dreams and half-written poems. Then she turned off the light and lay in bed, listening to the rain against the window. That night, she dreamed of an endless road lined with lights, and a man in a brown coat waving to her from the distance, smiling as if he knew something she didn't. The next morning, the diner buzzed with chatter. A story was going around town, something about a reclusive billionaire seen passing through Willow Creek. Some said he was scouting land. Others whispered he was searching for someone. Emma half listened as she poured coffee for a customer. Billionaires didn't stop in little diners like hers. They didn't drink $3 coffee from chipped mugs. But still, she couldn't help glancing at the door every time the bell rang, half expecting the old man to walk in again. Days passed, and he didn't return. The napkin stayed in her journal, the ink beginning to fade a little. Life went on, as it always did. But sometimes, when the rain fell just right and the jukebox played that same slow tune, Emma would look toward the corner booth by the window and feel an odd sense of peace, like she'd done something that mattered more than she could ever know. And outside, down the highway toward the city, the black limousine drove quietly through the morning fog, carrying an old man who couldn't stop thinking about the waitress who'd bought him a cup of coffee, not knowing she had just changed the course of her own life.